Look at this. This is so cool. Just a broken piece of a wrought iron fence. It's got to be 100 years old or so.
Over the past several years, graphic designer and fine artist Robbii Wesson has been collecting stray bits and pieces of interesting objects.
I come across my material almost anywhere. Lots of people want to give me junk. I love actually broken things. There's something incredibly inspiring about taking something that is worthless, useless, being thrown away, and actually giving it meaning, or a reason to actually live. Sometimes I don't even want to use something that is whole, because if something is old and whole, I don't want to break it. It got this far, it really deserves to really still live on its own. But trying to find a reason to give stuff that has been basically thrown away and make something beautiful out of it is what I seek to do.
From his basement studio in Douglaston, Wesson is giving new life to these old items in a series he calls Foundlings.
For so much of my life, I didn't know what being an artist was. I could do graphic design, I could letter, but that whole notion of being a fine artist was very intimidating and actually elusive to me. So there was a lot of thought I had about what is my voice? What do I want to say? And I found slowly but surely, with all of these pieces that I was collecting, I love the idea of just making something out of these things. And so that's how this sort of evolved. The material that I started, or at least I evolved around, was actually with boxes. These boxes were antique in nature, and each piece was almost sort of like a little stage piece. They had shiny bits of metal, machine parts, and all of that. And very quickly it realized that I needed to have some kind of organic matter, something to actually juxtapose the hardness, the hard quality of all these found mechanical rusted pieces. Other times I found the box limiting, so sometimes I'll branch off into another direction and I will actually start working outside the box. And there's something very fascinating about working in the round, in a sort of a three-dimensional sphere, but then I sort of find like I need to actually go back and work some more with a box, because I like that structure. At the end of the day, art is not merely about creating in a vacuum, it's actually about having a push-pull with the limitations of the medium. If you're painting, for example, you can't paint any bigger than the canvas. If you're sculpting, you can't sculpt any more than what you're sculpting from. So I find having a box is it's almost like going home. There's something very grounding about that. Although I think too much about my work, I often muse that my foundlings sort of represent my brothers and sister. My eldest brother is schizophrenic, and certainly these pieces are very surreal, very stream of consciousness kind of thing. My next eldest brother is an anthropologist, and I think having bones and organic stuff really speaks to his love of nature and anthropology. My sister was a psychologist, and certainly these are Rorschach tests, as well. You see basically what you want to see in them. My twin brother, Randy, is a rocket scientist, and certainly the engineering and the mechanicalness really speaks to his love of science. And for me, I'm always pursuing aesthetics. So is this really trying to tie up, my whole family and make it one and express it in a piece of artwork? I don't think so literally, but I think in my heart, there's a piece of that. I do this because I can't imagine not doing this. It's not a life or death need, I think, for me. But clearly, if I don't do that, I'd be so lost. I think creating is really something that gives me not just a sense of purpose, but keeps me thinking about myself, the world, what things mean. Hard to imagine that I'm pulling out what things mean from putting found objects together, but it's amazing to look at something that is 100 years old, and think about how it was used, what it was used for, the hands, that wore this particular piece down. That's incredibly inspiring. And at the end of the day, I want people to look at things fresh. I think it's so easy to walk through life and really think, nothing is new, nothing matters, and I'm just involved with my kids, my work, my family, politics. And I think that if you can actually look at something fresh, that somehow that wakes you up, that makes you alive. And I think it's important to look around and always see the new in things.
For Push Pause in Douglaston, this is Eric Alfredo.